Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Golf Talk Live, this 7th of March. And very excited this evening. We're going to have a great show because, why? Because Coach's Corner is back this season. This is the first panel discussion we're going to have of the season. And really excited to have the guys that are going to be joining me here in just a moment, and I'll introduce those in just a moment or two. And then a little bit later on, I am going to be joined by my very special guest. He's the Vice President at the Indoor Golf Shop, Jeff Wood. He'll be joining me on the second half, so I'm excited to talk to him during my guest interview process. A couple of quick announcements. Next week, on March the 14th, we'll be adding an additional segment, and we'll be plugging that in between Coach's Corner and the special interview section. It's going to be the Golf Talk Live / Golf Tips travel segment, and I'm going to be joined by my good friend Robert Kaufman. He's going to be joining me on that discussion, and we're going to introduce some interesting travel partners throughout the industry that can come on and talk about whether it's a resort location or whether it's a buddy trip destination that we want to promote. And that segment is going to be sponsored by golfbreaks.com. They've partnered with Golf Tips Magazine and Golf Talk Live, and we're going to be featuring one of their representatives next week on the 14th of March along with Robert. And we're going to be talking about, as I said, some of the different great destinations that you can take a great golf trip. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And as I said, that's going to be taking place on March the 14th. And it will be happening every other day. So it'll be the second and the fourth Thursday of every month that we'll be inserting that special travel segment. So I hope you stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to be starting out with Coach's Corner. Really excited about that, and I can't think of a better way than to start off with these guys. First up is John Decker. He is the Director of Instruction at Medallion Club in Columbus, Ohio. He's also a Senior Editor and Top 25 Instructor with Golf Tips Magazine. He's a former head instructor at the Grand Cypress Academy of Golf in Orlando. And back in 2015, he was the Southern Ohio Teacher of the Year. He also authors a great book, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, which, of course, includes an company Bible study. And he also does public speaking, and he's going to tell you a little bit later on after this segment about his second book, a follow-up to this book here. So excited to hear a little bit more about that. Also joining the panel is another good friend, Brian Dobby. He is a PGA teacher professional and currently is teaching at the Trump National in Bedminster, New Jersey, formerly with the Montclair Golf Club in the same area, where he spent 18 years and winning New Jersey section awards, 5 of them actually. And he was the 2012 Teacher of the Year and is also ranked number 7 in Golf Digest Top Teachers in New Jersey. So guys, welcome to 2024's first Coach's Corner panel.
Thank you, Ted.
Thanks, Ted. Good to be back on.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. And as always, we're going to have a fun, interesting conversation. I couldn't think of a better discussion to start the season off than 6 great reasons why you should learn to play golf. And some of them might surprise you, believe it or not. And this was actually, I'm not going to take credit for this discussion. I actually borrowed this. I was doing a little online search a few weeks back and actually talked about this. I made a little bit of a modification, but talked about this on Tuesday's Women of Golf show with my good friend and co-host LPGA professional Cindy Miller. And the actual title was officially 6 Great Reasons Why All Women should learn to play golf. And I decided to modify it a little bit. And it was actually a great post by Heidi Mitchell, who is an LPGA Class A professional. And she put that together, and I came across it in a search for something else. And I found it very interesting, and I thought this would be a good topic for the shows and particularly for Coach's Corner. And if you want to contact her, I'm going to give you her contact email or actually website. It's HeidiMitchellGolf.com. That's HeidiMitchellGolf.com. She's got a lot of great posts on there. And if you're looking to improve your game, you can reach out to her. She is an LPGA Class A professional as well. So thank you, Heidi, for providing a great discussion for tonight's Coach's Corner. All right, so I'm going to start, and I'm going to give you, because there's only 6 of them, but I want to get each of you to sort of interject into each of these topics. So, John, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind, on this first one. And besides the obvious, I mean, golf is a great game. I mean, there's a lot of fun, certainly challenging. But what I really enjoy about golf is that it really teaches us so many life lessons. So I want you just to, talk a little bit about, why you find it a fun game to play, first off, but then talk about some of the life lessons that you've learned, both as a player and as a teacher professional. And then, Brian, I'm going to pose the same question to you.
Well, Ted, first of all, thank you for having me on tonight's Coach's Corner. And, Brian, I look forward to the show and being on with you as well. There's so many life lessons that you can learn from the game. I think about the other games I played when I was a kid. In basketball, I would try to defend my opponent. In football, you're defending a territory. In baseball, you're trying to steal a base. You're trying to beat your opponent by doing something to them to stop them, to defend or score against them. Well, in the game of golf, you actually try to help your opponent. You don't talk when someone's hitting a shot. You watch your shadow so it's not in the way. You tend the pin for someone. You may rake the bunker for someone. You're always doing things to help your opponent. It's the only game that I know of where you're actually helping your opponent. You're actually making the playing field better for those that are behind you. When I rake a bunker, I'm making the bunker better for that person who's coming behind me, who's going to find the same fate that I found. So those are some lessons that really pop out to me when I was a kid. But the other thing that I learned when I was a kid, the other thing that really pops out to me is some of the things I've learned while playing with people. It's the only game that I know of where you might have a 15-year-old, a 35-year-old, and a 70-year-old playing at the same time in the same group. Most of the time, kids are playing with kids and women are playing with women and men are playing with men. But in golf, you get so many different age levels when you're going out and playing, and just so many the people that you meet. It can be very interesting. I think back when I was a kid, I remember I was about 18. I was playing with a financial consultant, and he was telling me as we were playing about investing money. And he said, you need to start investing your money now. And he was telling me all about this, and I really learned a lot from that. It really impacted me because he was taking the time to kind of mentor me as we were playing and walking on the golf course. That's just one of thousands of stories I can think back in my lifetime where I've learned from people while playing with them. So it's just a great way to experience what life is about. And I wrote about this in my book. I tried to show where Christianity, golf, and life are all the same. And in all of those examples of Christianity, of golf, and life, it's best to try to help others. And that's kind of what those are all doing in some way, shape, or form. So great lessons from the game, and I encourage, if you're thinking about playing the game or encouraging, to your children, if you have children that you're thinking about getting into sports, I can't think of any better way to learn about life than playing the game of golf.
Some great points. Thank you, John, and you're exactly right. Brian, I know that you have some other examples. I'm sure you share a lot of similar examples with John, but what are some examples? First off, if you want to touch on a little bit about, how despite being challenging at times for a lot of folks out there, and as a teacher professional, you see that all the time. If you want to touch on a little bit about really the fun and enjoyment that you got out of the game on both levels, going up and playing your own game, and then obviously as a teacher professional. But what life lessons really struck home for you that you can think of over the years?
Well, Ted, first off, thanks for having me on the show, and being with you, John. Just listening to your talk right there was I learned a lot, and you covered everything. Ted, this is a great question. You know, looking back, I've been playing golf for well over 50 years now, and as a kid, two things come to mind. I learned how to be patient with golf, and I think there's a life lesson there because, number one, the game doesn't come easy for most people, and you have to put the time and effort in, and I always enjoyed that part of the game. I always enjoyed trying to get to the next level or learning a new shot, and and then when you can pull that shot off in a tournament or whatever, that joy of, hey, I put in the effort, that hit home with me early, how much I had to work at it, but I also had to be patient, and I had to learn to be patient because during a round of golf, you're not going to hit every shot good, and you have to learn to deal with also the emotions of the game. And I think that can only lead into, other areas of your life, especially social areas where you're dealing with people. You have to be patient, and those are my initial life lessons. And then the fun of being with my friends when we were kids, sneaking on golf courses and wherever we could play. But we had fun doing it. And whether we got kicked off after 2 holes or 3 holes, we still had fun. And I think that's what's great about the game of golf. And like John said, you could have people all different ages playing together, and they can all get the same enjoyment out of that round of golf when they hit a good shot. And as John was saying, we might be competing against our opponents, but we're happy for them when they hit a good shot or make a birdie or get up and down. And, just the vibe of golf has always, been a special place for me. So, those are the life lessons I took from it early. And my dad was a pro, and, he taught us the etiquette. He said, make sure you rake those bunkers, make sure you put your divots back, and make sure you fix those ball marks. And I learned at a ripe age to, not throw my clubs, not break clubs, and respect the golf course. And I think, the respect of the game and that can definitely transfer into other areas of your life. So great question, Ted. And, I could go on for hours talking about it, but those were my initial things as a junior. And gosh, they're still true today. They're still true. You have to play by the rules. You have to behave yourself. You have to be accountable, and there was no blame in golf. I always liked that. I could only blame myself. I couldn't blame anybody else, and that always appealed to me also. Like we all know when, after playing a tournament, I knew when I didn't put the time in. I knew I wasn't prepared, and it was my own fault. And I think that those traits or those lessons we learn from golf can be applied to any other area of our life. Great question, Ted.
Well said, Brian. And, you're both exactly right. I mean, there's a ton of life lessons that you can take away from the game. One of the things that I always really enjoyed was the challenge of life, or the challenge of golf, rather, of having to get out there and avoid adversities like bunkers or water hazards or whatever the case were, is you had to navigate your way around the golf course. So you had to think your way around, as Jack Nicklaus famously talked about many times in his career. And when you learn to do that successfully, and that doesn't mean you're not going to stumble or make a few bad shots, as you guys have both pointed out, but for me, that was a great way to translate into life lessons, because it's the same thing. We have challenges in our work life, our personal lives that we have to navigate, that we have to work through. And I found that the two always sort of intertwined. If I was, working through these things in my personal life with a certain element of success, and that, again, doesn't mean that you don't stumble along the way, but it helped me on the golf course and vice versa. So if I became more proficient in one, it helped with the other. And we're going to talk about some other things in a little bit later about, when it applies to careers and things like that and networking, some of the benefits there. But I agree 100% with what you said. I think there's so many life lessons, and that to me is a great way to really start putting those reasons together for wanting to learn and take up this game, is just the many life lessons that you can learn. And it's lessons that, as you guys both pointed out, that starts at a very early age if you're introduced to the game, that lasts a lifetime. And that's one of the things that I like about it. And as you also both mentioned, it's something where there's a self-accountability. You're not accountable to anybody else but yourself. And so when mistakes are made, you can't blame anybody but you. The next one is again, I'm going to come back to you, John, is more really, and we don't have to get into too far into detail about this, but there's a lot of opportunities, particularly for junior golfers and parents as well. There's more scholarships available now for to get into a good college, utilizing golf scholarships that are available, particularly now more for women that are not really being used sometimes. In the men's, it's a little bit different. I think they're busting at the seams, but for women particularly. Talk about, John, a little bit of the benefits that a scholarship can do, a golf scholarship can do for somebody. And you can certainly, do it for both. It doesn't matter, doesn't male or female. Just give us an overview of, from your experience, because you work with that level of player, what a golf scholarship can do, what it's really about, and how it can benefit somebody for their life down the road.
Well, when I was at Grand Cypress, I had a father who came to me, and he had a daughter. I can't remember if she was in the 8th or 9th grade, and this has been some time ago. But he came to me and he said, I want my daughter to she wants to start playing golf, and she'd never played before. And she goes, she's a cheerleader, and she wants to start playing golf, and she wants to get a golf scholarship. And I'm thinking to myself, she's never even played the game, and she's, already in the first stages of high school. Boy, that's a tall task, to be able to get a golf scholarship. So we started working, and 3 years later, she did get a golf scholarship. She got a Division III golf scholarship. She got to where her scores were in the low 80s, and she was able to get a scholarship. Now, who knows how good she could have been if she had started when she was 5 or 6, like a lot of kids do nowadays. But during this time, I thought that was pretty amazing. I was very proud of her. And she was very proud of her accomplishment as well. She had a goal, and she wanted to reach that goal, and she was determined to do it. A scholarship is very important to a lot of people because they may not be able to afford going to college and getting an education. And so I think with Title IX and all the opportunities in women's sports, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for women to get scholarships. And so that's something that I try to encourage. When I talk to a lot of parents, I get a lot of parents who tell me, well, my son or daughter is playing, and they'll list maybe 6 sports. And I'm thinking to myself, well, they're going to be a good athlete, but they're never going to be great at anything. You can't play that many sports. I realize it's good to play a lot of different sports when you're young and you want to figure out what it is that you want to do. But if you're very serious about getting a golf scholarship, you've got to get it down to maybe playing 2, maybe 3 at the most if you're a really exceptional athlete. But you've got to be more specialized, and especially with the way things are now in how competitive women's golf has gotten over the last 20 years. I've seen a huge advancement in the quality of the players over the last 20 years, especially in the women and the junior boys as well. So scholarships are out there. It's a great way for someone that's coming up who maybe doesn't have the financial means to go to college, with the money that they have. It's a way that they can earn, a spot into a university and onto a team, and who knows where it's going to go from there. And it's going to open up a lot of doors. So it's not easy. It's not like you can just, I'm going to join the high school golf team and next year I'm going to get a scholarship. You have to put the work in. But if you're willing to do that, it's possible and can be done.
Yeah, and a lot of doors, well said, a lot of doors can be opened up through that. And Brian, I'm going to give you a little bit of a twist because, I know you don't want to just sort of repeat what John said, but, look at it from the other aspect as well. Golf traditionally has always been sort of taught as an individual game, which in a sense it is. But getting a scholarship and working towards that puts you in a position where now you're part of a golf team, women's or men's, depending on what side of the aisle you are. But there's opportunities there to now be a part of a group where you're working for a common goal. So maybe you could touch on that, some of the advantages, especially for the parents out there. A lot of parents don't really understand, unless they've been involved in golf through the junior ranks. And, there's some out there that maybe the kid is pretty athletic, as John pointed out. Maybe touch on that from the standpoint of some of the benefits of being part of a golf team and again, through the scholarship process, how that can also translate to benefits a little bit later on in life.
Another great question, Ted. As we play golf and we compete, it's very individual based, as we know, but being part of a team, and I'm sure a lot of coaches look for this trait in their scholar athletes that, are their best interests about the team or just themselves, and I think being part of a team, if I was the coach, I want players playing for me that were looking out for everybody because they can all support each other as teammates. And I think that's important. And, rooting each other on and hitting the gym together in college and hitting balls together as a team. I think that's important. And, just the networking of, the other players, if you do get a scholarship, you're going to be with, 6 to 10 other players. And, those are relationships that are going to transcend your college career. And that can help you in the business world and whatever. So, being able to integrate and be part of a team atmosphere, I think is a good skill set that kids need to develop that want to go down this road of college scholarships. So I think that's important. I think a lot of coaches would look for those traits also, which would definitely help. It's not just about, how low you score, which is a big plus, but how you deal with your other players that you're supporting also, because that goes a long way. But it's and then it's a lifetime sport. What could happen after that college scholarship? It could help you in the business world. It can help you networking with other people and open so many doors. So, I think we're seeing a lot more girls get into golf these last 10, 15 years, and hopefully they pursue those college scholarships. It's just a great opportunity. Great opportunity. Great question, Ted.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. And just to sort of put things in perspective a little bit, in a recent show, one of the guests talked about some stats that just came out not too long ago from the National Golf Foundation for 2023, and there was an uptick of 800,000 women, new golfers, into the game in 2023. So you're pushing almost 1 million new golfers coming in. So that, again, various ages, of course, not everybody is going to be in that scholarship area, but when you've got a situation like that where you've got so many women of all ages coming in, certainly there's going to be a percentage of them there that may qualify to be able to get scholarships. So something to look forward to. All right, John, I'm going to come back to you on this one. And golf is a good workout for the mind and body. Give us some examples here, and then I'll pass it over to Brian.
Well, it certainly can be a workout, especially if you're walking. I was playing at Muirfield, and I asked the caddy, we were playing, and I asked my caddy, I said, how long is it to walk this golf course? And he said it's about 12 miles. And if you look at the distance between number 9 green at Muirfield and walking all the way to the back tee, which is up a steep hill with a very steep incline. You get all the way up to that hill, and your heart rate is beating. And then you've got to hit a shot, and then you've got to walk all the way down the same hill. And by the time you get down to the bottom of the hill, you look over and go, well, there's 9 green. It's only, not too far away. I was just over there. And then you got to walk back up a hill to get to the fairway. I was worn out after walking that golf course. So there's a lot to be said with that when you're playing. It is a physical activity if you're walking. And I think a lot of people do walk. I see a lot of that down here in Florida. Out at Windermere, I see a lot of people out there walking, and so it's definitely an athletic sport. You have to be in shape to play at a high level, I feel. Now, a lot of people aren't in shape, and a lot of people play, and they honestly will they wonder why their game is not where it should be. And a lot of times I tell them this is less about your golf swing and more about getting more in golf fitness. So I think that's something that's very important. As far as the mental aspect that goes, things that we've talked about, Brian brought up a great point about patience, something I always need to work on in my own game. Patience is something you have to accept in golf. Is sometimes you're going to do everything right. You're going to hit a good shot and you're going to get a bad break, or you're going to come up and maybe you're playing really well, and then all of a sudden the golf course slows down because the group ahead of you is playing slowly. Being able to deal with the highs and lows. And we're not talking about over a 10 or 15 minute, period. We're talking about over a 4 or 5 hour period during a round of golf. The elite marathon runners will run a marathon in 2.5 hours or whatever. That's they could run 2 marathons in the time it takes a lot of PGA Tour players to play 18 holes of golf. So it's very important to understand that the mental aspect and the physical aspect to play at an elite level have to be elite. But if you want to improve at just the local, at a level when you're for the average golfer out there, fitness and having good mental approach to the game can really pay a lot of dividends.
I couldn't agree more. Well said. Brian, I'm going to give you the same question, talking about sort of the physical and the mental side of golf being obviously a good workout for both. But I want to put a little bit of a different twist just to give you an opportunity to maybe approach it from a little bit different angle. You work with a lot of different players, different age groups, and as John just pointed out, you have to be in better shape than what most people think. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a long-distance runner or something of that effect, but you definitely have to be able, especially if you're walking. If you're riding a cart, it's not as much, but there's a certain endurance factor. When you're working with some of your students, especially some of your younger students who are maybe, as we talked about in the previous question, maybe working for those scholarships, they've got to do so. Most players now, on the PGA Tour and on the LPGA Tour, they've got a workout truck there that they can go in there and all of the equipment there. They're getting in tip-top shape, and we can thank Tiger Woods for really ramping that up over the years. So what is it you're trying to say to some of those golfers that you're working with that are maybe wanting to take their game to that next level? What are you saying to them? Okay, let's plan together for getting you in better shape physically, and then what are you talking about the mental side of the game? What are some tips that you want to give them to work out? Great.
So Ted, up here in New Jersey during the winter, I stress to my players. I'm going to break this into 2 parts: the juniors and then the adults that I teach. I think one thing about the body, the fitness end of it, where a lot of our players up here in the Northeast really don't play much from, say, November through April. Maybe they start in March, but I try the ones that work all winter. I have a fitness area right next to my teaching bay, and we do a lot of stretching. We do a lot of core work, trying to get the body ready so they don't injure themselves once spring hits, because everybody gets gung-ho in the spring. They come out and what do? They throw their back out or a hamstring from walking the course or whatever. So the body, as we all know, one injury in the body and we're not playing golf. So I stress that with the adult players. Let's take 4 to 6 weeks to get ready for the season physically. So that's very important. And with the juniors have so much energy. Their bodies move differently than adults and stuff, but they need to think about what they put in their body. Are they eating properly? Especially kids that are serious playing high school and tournament golf. At the turn, are they, hydrating their body enough? Are they eating good food, or are they, eating a cheeseburger at the turn and then slowing down on the back nine? So these are the things I try to educate to the juniors that are more competitive. Let's make sure we put the right foods in our body so we can have performance the whole 18 holes. Now, concerning the juniors, the other thing with the body is, man, golf has changed since Tiger Woods, and the athletes are getting bigger. We're having bigger and stronger players that hit the ball a mile. And, if you can get into the gym and increase your club head speed and get stronger, that's going to pay dividends with your golf game. Even if you can pick up another 10 yards with your driver, that's a big deal. So that's important, especially with junior golf. And then when it comes with the mind, a lot of my instruction with the mind is just trying to keep most amateurs in the present moment. That amateurs typically play golf in the future and in the past. The future, hey, I parred the first 4 holes. This is going to be my best 9, and then they double bogey out, and what happened? Their brain wasn't in the moment. It was in the process. And we're all guilty of that, but that's where the mind comes into play. And can you focus on the things you can control? A lot of amateurs are always focusing on things they can't control: the weather, slow play, who their playing partner is, and all these thoughts. They distract the player from hitting the shot at hand. And then this is what makes pros and tour players great players. They have the ability to get into the moment for that 5-10 seconds to hit a shot and put all their energy into the shot with no regards to the outcome of the shot, whether past or future. So I do a lot of that with my students, trying to work on their routine, staying in the moment, and trying to hit the shot as good as they can at that moment. And, we all have to work on those things. Another great question, Ted.
I appreciate that. And you're exactly right. You, again, both hit really all the points on that. And I think what it really boils down to is you've got to take precautions to get yourself in shape. And what I mean by that is, you don't have to be getting, treat yourself like a bodybuilder, because that's obviously going to be counterintuitive and counterproductive to playing good golf. And I strongly urge, if you're tuning into the program, you're working with is not certified or well knowledgeable in that area, you may want to ask him or her if they can put you in touch with a golf fitness certified fitness professional who specializes in golf, because many of the exercises and things that you might perform are golf sort of exclusive. So you want to make sure that you're not doing exercises that are going to actually work against you. So that's a good conversation to have with your pro. Many of them now are certified fitness professionals as well, and golf fitness, of course, is what I'm talking about. Or they work with a partnership with somebody who is to be able to do that. And it's just the way competition is right now in our industry. So definitely something that you want to do. All right, John, back to you. One of the things I think that's a given, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier on, and that is the ability to really play with a variety of different individuals, different ages, so on and so forth. So golf can be a real social aspect as well, can provide a great social environment as well. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think that's one of the things that makes it such a fun game, especially when I was a kid. I mean, I just had a group of friends that we went out and played golf literally every day during the summer. And it was just fun. It was just being able to spend a lot of time outside, no adult supervision, being out there on the golf course, playing a game, competing against each other, competing against the golf course. That was always my big thing. I never really got wrapped up in who I was playing with and if they were shooting a better score than me. I always wanted to compete against the golf course. That was always my mental approach to playing the game. I wanted to lower my score because I knew in my mind my lowest score on the course, and I wanted to break that. And I remember, breaking 190 and all those different levels that you do. But quite frankly, the times that I spent with my friends playing the game are what I remember the most. And then when I got into competition, I remember being able to have great experiences playing against really good players. And I remember what it was like the first time I played with a tour player, getting to play with that caliber of player. I always wanted to play with, growing up, I always wanted to play with people that were better than I was because I wanted to learn from them. I wanted to watch them. So there was a couple of adult players I grew up on a little public golf course, but they were the better players at the course. And I always would ask them if I could play with them, or I would always watch them. Even if I couldn't play with them, I would always watch them to see how they would approach different holes and the strategies and things that they would do. So you can learn a lot by playing with people. But the other thing that I enjoy about golf is sometimes in going out and playing by myself. And that's the other thing that's great about the game is I remember I could go out and play and I would hit 2 or 3 balls and I would play different games and I would try different shots. And so sometimes playing by myself was fun as well. And that's what makes the game so great. You can play it by yourself, or you can play it with three other people, 4 if no one's around and you're playing a fivesome. So it's just a great social aspect of the game. And then, when you get done, you're sitting around talking about your rounds. You're talking about your woulda, coulda, shouldas. It's fun to sit around with all your friends and talk about what could have happened and everything. So just a great game, and socially, I don't think there's any better than the game of golf.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think there's, depending on the network that you're hanging around to your friends, and that sometimes even a little ribbing goes on between the group, and that always makes it a little bit more fun, or even a little money gets laid down and adding additional pressure. Brian, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I'm going to put, again, a little bit of a different spin on it for you just to keep it interesting. Golf generally can be very social, gives you an opportunity to play with a lot of strangers. But another big thing, golf traditionally many years ago started out really predominantly a male sport. A lot of men took up the game, a lot of men typically, not so many women. And then, of course, we had the 13 founders of the LPGA came along, and they said, we want to get on in this action too. And many of them, Marilyn Smith and Shirley Spork and so many others that came along with them, got in and formed and created the LPGA professional, both player and the teaching division, and really spearheaded that movement. And now to take it a little step further is now you're getting a lot of couples. So this is a great game for couples, which, again, only can help add to the social aspect of the game, because it's not just the individual couples playing, but now couples and other couples can team up and get out and have some fun as well. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great point about, this is all falls under the category of growing the game. And, thank God for the LPGA when they started, and they kept expanding and growing the game and exposing the game to everyone. And, at clubs now, couple golf is a very popular thing in a lot of clubs where they might play only 9 holes, like in a twilight or something, and the couples pair up, and it's a great opportunity for the husbands to play with the wives and vice versa. And then when you're done, you go to the clubhouse and have a meal or a drink or whatever, and then again start talking about how much fun you had. So it's another form of growing the game that needed to happen years ago, and it's just expanding. And now we have parent-child tournaments and all kinds of ways to get people out on the golf course together, and it's just a great for the game, and it's not going to stop, and people love it. That's the social end of it. We can all enjoy the game, and it doesn't have to be a tournament, but just get out there. You're on a beautiful golf course on a beautiful night in the summertime with your friends, playing in a little 9-hole scramble. The formats have changed too to make it easier for beginning golfers to get out there and still have some fun. So the formats are important, and having a couple drinks and dinner at the end makes it so much more special. It keeps people coming back to the game. So I think everything you mentioned is important. And speaking of the LPGA Tour, to this day, I still think Mickey Wright has the best golf swing I've ever seen. And you all know what a golfer she was. And I remember watching her when I was first learning the game, and I'm like, that is the best swing I have ever seen. And to this day, I still swear by that. As great as Tiger is and all these other great players, Mickey Wright can hold her own against any of them, as far as I'm concerned. She was amazing. So another great question.
That she was. I concur with you. She definitely had a great swing. And also, just to add just a little bit more, just to sort of take it to another point, the travel aspect of now too, with especially couples playing, there are so many great resorts that are out there. So it's not just a matter of couples and other extended family playing at their local golf course, but now there's so many great golf packages out there that you can do as a family, you can do as a couple. And now you've got the introduction of other activities in golf courses like pickleballs, taken off through the roof with a lot of courses now. So, it's a great time for this game to get in for somebody that's never played this game, or even for somebody that maybe has played and maybe kind of got out for a few years because they were maybe not happy with where they were. It's a great time to get back into the game as well. There's lots of fun out there, and it definitely is a great social aspect as well. To work together and just have some fun, which leads us into the next question, John, and that is golf has also, we've known, has been able to help both your career and obviously networking, increasing those networking opportunities. So let's touch on that, both from a teaching professional standpoint. Obviously, it can be a great career from that aspect, but just business golf in general. How many businesses have used golf as a tool to better and increase their bottom lines, for lack of better words? What are your thoughts?
Well, when I was growing up, my father was a stockbroker, and he told me he did more business on the golf course than he did in his office. And he said, John, he goes, I don't know, what kind of career you're going to have, but I want you to learn the game of golf. He didn't really have to push me because I wanted to learn the game. But he said, John, if you play this game, he goes, whenever you get out in the business world, it will open up so many doors for you. It will open up doors for you if you're at a club. People want to play with better players. That's just kind of the things that my father taught me when I was a kid. And he was correct. And I see this all the time. One of my favorite clinics to do, and I did a lot of these when I was at Grand Cypress. I did probably close to 1,000 of these in the 20 years I was at Grand Cypress. But now that I'm in a private club, is doing corporate clinics. I love corporate clinics because typically the host is paying for it, so everyone there is in a good mood, and there's not a lot of pressure in the corporate clinics to get better. People don't come in with this, I've got to learn, in this 2-day golf school or this 1-day clinic, I've got to learn all this stuff. It's more of a fun way of learning. And I find that when the people are more relaxed and having fun, they actually improve faster because they're not putting as much pressure on themselves. And so I think the corporate clinic is a great way to entertain And if done properly, I know there's some business write-offs. So if you're looking to entertain customers out there and you're in the business world, consider doing a corporate golf clinic, because you get to spend with your customers 3 or 4 hours, especially if you go out and play. If you play a round of golf and do a 1 hour clinic or something like that, my gosh, you might spend 5 or 6 hours with your customer, and that's quality time that's going to lead to business relationships that lead to, just some great things for everyone. So it's a win-win for the instructional staff, the people who are hosting, and then the customers. Everyone wins in a corporate golf clinic. So I definitely think that that's probably one of my favorite things to teach, and I'm sure Brian he does probably a lot of those as well, especially up in New Jersey. So I'm sure it's very popular up there as well.
Yeah, and Brian, just to again to add a little bit to this, John talked about taking potential clients out on the golf course in prospects and whatnot, and I know as well for many years teaching corporate clients that was sort of my bread and butter. I just love doing that as John does, and doing clinics and things like that. But it's also a great way to really be able to identify whether you even want to do business with that individual. You're out there for 3-4 hours, depending on the circumstances, and you get a real insight into what people are really like. And sometimes at the end of the day, maybe it's not the person you want to, get into a business relationship with. So again, just touch on some of the things, maybe give an example of some experiences that you've had and how you've really utilized it for maybe your own business, and how you've helped others to really capitalize with this game, with the use of this game in their own personal business or network.
Well, talking about the network part of it, it's, when in the golf business, when I would play with, 3 new members on a Saturday morning, the relationship that you can build in that 4-hour round is just incredible. You get to know people a little bit better. You get to see them under the gun and in competition. You get to talk about other things, and it just opened up the lines of communication where you know somebody a little bit better out of that round of golf, and maybe you were partners together and you're rooting each other on and stuff. But yeah, a lot of things can be revealed playing golf with other people, and like you mentioned in the business world, maybe you'll see somebody's true colors come out on the golf course, and maybe you want to or not want to do business with them. So I'm sure that happens out there and all the time. And client golf has changed over the years. Like John mentioned, so many businesses do business on the golf course now, and I think part of that is the time spent on the golf course during the round of golf. You interact more. You're in a different atmosphere. You're not in an office or maybe on a phone or in a Zoom meeting, and it's a little bit more relaxing. And when you add the element of golf and having fun, you're growing a relationship, and relationships are important in the business world and any world. So I just think the business we're in is about relationships. So I've made all my friends through the golf industry, and I can't wait to make new friends and stuff like that. But it's revealing playing with somebody on a golf course, and good or bad.
Right.
It's right. I'm sure we have stories, but we only have a little limited time to talk here. But we all have our stories. But it's if I was running a business, I'd introduce, hey, let's play some golf. Let's have some outings. Let's meet the pros. Let's get better, and it just builds a team atmosphere also in a company. To have an outing or whatever, and that can only help performance. If the people you're working with are happy and stuff, they're going to perform better and want to do a better job. So I think all in all, golf and business, relationship building, man, it goes hand in hand. Another great question, Ted.
Well said, and some great points by both. just to add a little bit to that, another thing that has become popular is not so much the one-on-one with a business and maybe potential prospect, but as John pointed out, hosting a clinic, a great way, and it could be done very cost effective, but certainly you may not want to do a 2-day, but maybe for an hour or two you might want to connect, if you're a business and you have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 potential prospects that you feel are pretty good, and you want to treat them to a golf clinic. You can reach out to your local pro and say, hey, I've got a group that I want to bring up. Want you to host the clinic, and I'm going to pick up the tab and maybe include the meal and everything in there, and just bring them out there and really introduce an opportunity for them. And again, it's a great way to network and to kind of get a feel for everybody. And no pressure. You're not going to close any deals necessarily at that particular time, but it's a great way to reach out to your fellow business community and invite them as prospects that may want to do business with you, and just treat them to an opportunity, and again in a more casual setting and not so much of a high pressure. So that's another way that you can do that as well. The last question we're going to have is really kind of interesting. As I mentioned in the beginning, this was really taken from more of a female perspective, but I think it applies for us as well. But John, golf has kind of developed, especially in the women's market, sort of fashion all its own. I think the men's side of things is catching up a little bit, but I think the women have us beat when it comes to what's available out there. But what are your thoughts on sort of today's golf fashion to compare it to what it was maybe a decade or two ago? What are your thoughts?
Well, I would say the skirts have gotten a little shorter. If you look at the way what a lot of the women wear now versus maybe 30, 40 years ago. So I don't think there's too many men that are going to complain about that. But overall, I think it's the fashion side from the women's perspective. It's really cool what a lot of the girls are wearing now. I really like all the colors. I'm not a fashion expert, but one thing that I do like is I like to see different colors and not just wearing the same traditional white shirt, golf shirt, and khaki pants that you see a lot of guys wear. In the women's, you see all kind of different colors and I think that that's something that the women like, and I think that that's something that has really made golf more profitable for the pro shops, because the women do come in and they buy a lot, as do the men. I see men in the shops. Every time I'm in the shop, I'm not in the shop full time anymore like I used to be when I first got started, but when I am in there, there's a lot of shopping and support for the club. So I think overall it's good for the game. It's good for the business side of the clubs, and it's good for the bottom line for the club. So I definitely see that trend continuing. I don't think there's anything stopping it. I think the women's equipment has gotten a lot better. I've never liked when they just made women's clubs. They would just make them with just a ladies flex, and that was pretty much it. Now women are getting more into senior flexes. You see, I get a lot of women that especially my better players, I'm getting them into men's regular flexes. And I think that that's something that's been missing from the golf industry side, is that women's clubs are just typically were made just one way with kind of a weak shaft and for slower swing speeds. Women now are much more athletic. We're playing the game. They're coming in younger. They're coming in shape. And with that, there's a niche there that a lot of the golf manufacturers, I think, need to fill, and that's making better quality shafts for the women instead of just making one ladies flex. Making a lot of different shafts, I think, is important as well.
Well said. And I think, just to add, I know that was more on the equipment side of thing, and that's fine. I just want to add to that. I think with the onslaught of new female golfers come to the game, we've already seen signs of that change happening. I think you're going to even see that get ramped up more. As more and more women come to the game, the manufacturers are going to follow suit as more product is demand has come for the product. I think you're going to see that. Brian, I think there's another thing too that maybe we can touch on a little bit here as we get ready to wind up Coach's Corner. On the fashion side of things, I think there's a couple of things that are different. Typically, when we look back, not just the styles and the colors and things, as John pointed out, but the materials that are coming out now are much more advanced. Typically it was a cotton, polo type shirt and khaki pants or maybe a dress slack or something. But now there's so many athletic type materials being used that are better absorbent rather, and more flexible. And that's coming in obviously because of, again, the increase in interest, but also the diversity of the clothing. I mean, before, you had to maybe wear something for golf and then you had to go and change and what have you, particularly for the women. I mean, they can accessorize and do all kinds of things with what they wear on the golf course, and then they can just get in the car and head out for dinner with maybe just throwing a light jacket on. So there's a lot of diversity in what can be done with today's clothing in the golf fashion industry, and diversity in not just what you can do with it, but also the materials as well, right?
Oh, Ted, no doubt. It was funny. I was looking at some old pictures from 25 years ago. Some of my golf groups I was in. My attention went to the clothes we wore, and everything was, cotton and khakis and baggies. But the material today with the poly and stuff, it's so much lighter. It's breathable. It's so much fun to be out, on a hot summer day now with clothes that breathe. And I think fashion has come so far in the last 5-10 years in golf, and it's a good thing. It's funny. I tend to, get a new golf magazine, and I used to just gravitate towards either the instruction or the new clubs. Now I gravitate towards the fashion. What's everybody wearing out there? The men and the women, and I think it's a cool thing, and I think it gets better every year. And the materials, we don't have to. I remember having to always dry clean my slacks 30 years ago, and now you don't. And you'd have to iron everything. Now most things you buy, you don't even have to iron. It's great. It's just,
right.
I love the fashion end of it. I really do, and I can't wait to see the new lines every year. And for men and women, it's interchangeable, like you said. You can go from the golf course to work, or the golf course at home. You don't have to change, and you fit in wherever you are. The styles are so incredible. The materials are incredible, and it's a big business out there. The clothing companies that make golf clothes for men and women, it's big business, and I expect it's just going to keep growing. It's good stuff. Good for all of us. The diversity that's coming out in fashion now for golf is just really gone leaps and bounds to what it was. And I've looked at some old pictures as well, Brian, of mine, when I play with some of my friends, and I look at some of the clothing that we wore back then. And you just look at it, certain styles come around again, but the materials are really where things have changed a lot, and a lot of environmental, things are going into it as well to try and make it so it's not as impact on the environment is not as bad. So that's a great plus as well. But 6 great reasons why you should learn to play this game. Everything from life lessons to golf fashion we talked about tonight. And again, I want a special thanks to Heidi Mitchell for writing a great post and including all of these things. She's an LPGA Class A professional, and you can get more information about her at HeidiMitchellGolf.com. So thank you, Heidi, for a great discussion on Coach's Corner panel tonight. Guys, as always, give you a moment to let the folks know if they want to reach out to you, how they can get in contact with you. And once again, thank you for a segment on Coach's Corner tonight. John, go ahead, and then Brian.
Well, first of all, Ted, thank you again for having us on the show tonight and giving us this platform. We really appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck this season. I know you'll do a great job with the show. Brian, I really enjoyed being on with you as well, and I learned a lot listening to you, and I wish you a happy season this year. If the folks out there want to reach me, the best way, you can reach me on my website, deckergolf.com. I'm also available on social media on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I spell my name Jon. So if you're looking for me on any of the social media aspects, go to John Decker Golf Instruction. You can find me on those platforms. My book, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart websites. I also have an audio book with it. So if you want to go on Amazon Audible and put in Golf is My Life, John Decker, it'll come up. As well, I'm writing the Golf Tips magazine article, so you can find me on Golf Tips magazine. There articles. I've got the Fairways to Heaven article and instructional articles for the magazine. And my second book, it's called Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time. I'm excited to announce that we'll be coming out this summer, at the end of the summer most likely. I just signed the contract last week for it, so I'm real excited about that. It's a combination of all the Fairways to Heaven articles that I've written, but also there's a lot of new content in there, including a tribute to my late mentor, Phil Rogers. And I've got 18 instructors who are world-renowned instructors who are all worked under Phil Rogers, who have written unbelievable tributes to it. So I'm really excited about that, and that'll be coming out again this summer. And I'll be speaking at the Men's Fellowship Gathering at the Windermere Country Club. This is open to the public. So if you'd like to go, that's going to be on March the 19th, and it's at 9 a.m. You need to reach out to me because I would have to get you a gate pass to get in. But if there's anybody in the Southwest Florida area that would like to come, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to meet you. And thanks again, Ted, for a great show.
Always a pleasure, John. Thank you. And Brian, best way they can reach out to you.
Ted, first off, thanks for having me on the show. I always enjoy being a guest on your show. I learned so much from all the guests. And John, I love hearing you talk tonight. You're sincere, you're knowledgeable, you're a true professional, and I want to wish you the best of luck this season too. Hopefully one day we'll meet in person. I can be reached in New Jersey here, beautiful Bedminster, New Jersey, Trump National Bedminster. We have 36 holes, 2 magnificent golf courses, a magnificent facility, and an unbelievable learning center. So if you're in my neck of the woods, stop in here in Bedminster, New Jersey. You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Brian Dobby, and my I'll give you my phone number, 908-531-3637. You can reach me, search me, and if you're in our area here in New Jersey, love to help you with your golf game. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate being on the show.
John, Brian, thank you very much for doing the Coach's Corner panel, the first one of 2024, and look forward to you guys coming back again on a future panel discussion. Have a great weekend, guys, and as always, much continued success through your endeavors as well. And thanks again for coming on. All right, that was John Decker and Brian Dobby on the Coach's Corner panel. We're going to take a very fast break and hear a message from Golf Tips Magazine, and I'll be back with my special guest, Jeff Wood.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple-to-follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and if you're just tuning in, we're just getting into the segment where I speak with my special guest of the evening, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll bring him on the show. His name is Jeff Wood, and he is a vice president at the Indoor Golf Shop. And with 18 years of experience in the golf industry, Jeff brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. As I mentioned, as VP at the Indoor Golf Shop, he oversees marketing and strategic partnerships for the largest selection of residential and commercial indoor golf products in North and Latin America. And their headquarters is just located just about 15 minutes from the new PGA headquarters in Salina, which is north of Dallas. So please welcome to Golf Talk Live my very special guest tonight, Jeff Wood. Good evening, Jeff, and welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Well, good evening, Ted. Thank you so much for having me on. Looking forward to visiting with you.
Well, I appreciate it, and I apologize. We ran over a minute or two longer on the Coach's Corner segment, but I had to give the guys a chance to wind things down, so I apologize. We're a couple of minutes late, but we'll get we'll get lots of stuff in here tonight. So I like to do this with anybody that I've never had on before, just to kind of get a little bit more background. I didn't want to just, sort of go through the typical bio and so forth. And because this is a golf show, I wanted to get a little bit more insight to your sort of golf experience, both from a personal and professional. So how did you get introduced to the game? And then how did you sort of migrate from, getting out there and hitting some golf shots on a personal level to being more involved on a professional level?
Well, that's great. Thank you for allowing me. Great question. I got started in golf when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. My dad, we were living in San Diego, California at the time, so not a bad place to learn how to play golf. And he was in the Navy.
I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome out there. And we were a military family. Dad was in the Navy for about 26 years. And so I grew up playing on the military base golf courses. Took some lessons as a youngster and kind of got into the game a little bit with some other sports, but always loved playing with my dad and some of his other fellow sailors in the Navy and, officers and whatever rank they were. I was just a youngster out there with these men that were seasoned veterans in our military, and learned a little bit of a different language than what you would learn as a 10-year-old. So
right.
they introduced me to the game, and I just continued playing. I played in high school and eventually made my way into college. I didn't play in college, but I went to college in Texas, and outside of just playing casually on the side, I thought, I'd love to figure out a way to work in the golf business. And fortunately, as I was graduating from college, there was a brand new Champions Tour event starting in Dallas, and I was able to speak with the head of operations for that tournament. It was the Bank One Senior Championship, and that was my first entry into the business of golf, and I was a staff member on that tournament group. And unfortunately, it only lasted a couple of years. Bank One dropped their sponsorship after the second year, and I bounced around a little bit, but went off into eventually found my way into a golf management company where we operated and marketed and ran a few golf courses in Texas and also in Hilton Head, and then eventually made my way after several years and landed at Adams Golf at the corporate headquarters here in the Dallas area for Adams. And it was an awesome time at that company. We were, of course, everybody remembers the Tight Lies Fairway Woods and all the great hybrids that Adams made. So I spent about 10 years on with that team, and then it was we were acquired by TaylorMade, so I worked for TaylorMade for a couple of years, and then just have kind of had a career that I've loved in the golf business, and have been with the Indoor Golf Shop now about 3 years, and on this side of the business where it's all about technology and golf simulators. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's been a big change, and we're going to talk about some of those changes that have gone on as we get into more about the Indoor Golf Shop. But what's interesting, as I was listening to you, and by the way, would like to thank your father for his service in the Navy. I know it's difficult for many over the years to do that. Obviously, it's an honor and a privilege for them to serve for their country, and we want to thank him for that, for his efforts and all of his many years that he served this nation. So we want to send that thank you out for your father.
Thanks.
Thank you. What I wanted to do is just to point out something really interesting as I was listening to, you talk about sort of the progression of your career. Obviously, you pivoted very early into, various different golf areas of business, different aspects of it. And, in the earlier segment with the guys, we talked about, the opportunities that golf presents for networking and that. So you obviously at some point, in addition to loving the game, you recognized that there was an advantage to being involved in some level in golf from a business level as well. Would that be pretty accurate?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely accurate. And I did learn early on as a young man that the world of golf just is, it's relatively small compared to a lot of other kind of industries that are out there. And the great thing about it is the relationships that you can build, playing the game, but also in the business of golf as well. And I've made tremendous friendships, and then, people that are just willing to help you and, find your way, and connections you make, and they introduce you to other people. So I'll never forget, I was fortunate to work under Chip Brewer, and, Chip is now, he's been CEO of Callaway and Topgolf, but he was our CEO for a long time at Adams. And just really, I tell people I went to the school of Chip, and just, learned how to learn the right way to kind of conduct yourself and treat people in our business, and then outside of the business of the golf game. So we were fortunate to have his leadership, and I will always be appreciative of that, because I learned so much during those 10 years or so.
And golf opens up, and this was something else that we touched on, and then we're going to move on to into the technology side of things a little bit. But, the other thing that golf really has done too, for me as a teach professional, and obviously as a business person, has allowed so many doors to be opened, because golf has become, you mentioned it's a smaller industry compared to some, and it is in many ways, but virtually every industry out there on some level has adopted golf in some fashion, whether it's corporate events, whether it's fundraising for charities, the tours, that it's really expanded and helped to expand so many markets. And one of the interesting markets that has really developed a lot of rapid growth is your market now, what we're going to talk about, and sort of what they call the off-course golf market. And companies, as you pointed out, Topgolf and others that have come out there have really sort of opened that door. And it's interesting because when I was down at the PGA show last year and then this year, the years before, of course, COVID kind of put a stymie on a lot of that. But last year and this year, we're seeing certainly rapid growth in what we'd call the off-course or indoor golf, and there's a lot of technology. When did you first start seeing that? You've been with indoor, you said, about 3 years now. When did you really see that take off, where that was sort of coming in vision, if you will, where technology was going to start moving things in a different direction?
Yeah, it's I can remember, I mean, back in the time when I was at Adams, I was, we're looking at 2010 to, that time frame around 2010, 2015. We're obviously using launch monitors with our tour pros and, fitting customers. And so that kind of ball started rolling a little quicker back then than it had been. There was a lot of talk then about just custom fitting your set and not, buying standard equipment off the rack. So, the education kind of started at that point, I think, for the general public to understand the numbers that were involved and the advantages that you could see from a custom fit set of irons or woods and drivers. So I feel like at that time, the conversation really got started. And then it's, like a lot of things, it's not rapid until something dramatic happens, which I think, we all saw with COVID, that just intensified people's interest in golf technology, something that they could practice at home. Of course, the sport was booming with the ability to go play outside. So it all kind of had its own, it all kind of had the effect to rapidly get people interested in these new ways of playing the game and even entering the game. Just the people that had never picked up a golf club in their life were finding opportunities to now go and play, and then you bring the at-home advantage or the capabilities. And I think it just, overnight, the off-course kind of world of golf just really started quickly moving forward, and that's where we are today.
Do you look at the industry as an example? I mean, I'm going to get you to talk a little bit more specifically about what Indoor Golf shop actually does and what they are. Sort of give us an overview in a moment here. But do you think that initially when this started, this movement, and I call it a movement because it really, I can remember, again, a few years back where, you saw a couple of simulators. Now, they're all over the place. And I know you guys have some fantastic stuff. Do you think initially when this was starting to happen that people looked at it as a launching point to get more people, not just in the game, but get them out in the golf course? So here's a way that we're going to get a new generation in that are tech savvy, that's, going to appeal to them, and then we can transition. Do you think it's gone from that sort of initial jump start to where it's now going to be more direct competition? Again, you're not trying to take away from one another, but at the same time, and I mean from outdoor to indoor, that it's really going to be something that's going to be more complementary to one another. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I really do. I think it is a very complementary aspect to the game. And, now, especially in the North and Northeast, there's no real off season any longer, and there's no long breaks of playing and keeping your swing, in good shape and the momentum that you've had out on the course. So that's a real advantage for the golfing public. I think that's where it really complements the sport, and the ability to go in and play at a commercial facility, that's popping up, the 5-iron golfs, the Golf Lounge 18s, all those facilities that are popping up all over the country, along with Top Golfs. And then the at-home aspect of it, it wasn't long ago where only the very elite, wealthy had golf simulators, and it was a luxury item, whereas now we're selling these to pretty much anybody. The price points are so different, and the ability to put some type of indoor golf training equipment in your home is so much easier than what it used to be. So all of that together, I think it really points to a very much of a partnership between the indoor game and the outdoor game, that, it's kind of seamless, and it's kind of mainstream now to think about golf simulators and golf technology, like what you were saying at the PGA show. That half of the floor now seems to be built out with simulators. And I think that's when we all kind of looked at each other like, this is here to stay. This is now part of the game.
Yeah, and I'm going to raise a couple of points, too, that I wanted to mention about that. But, one of the things that I noticed, and I'm sure obviously you've seen it being more directly involved, is it's not just about putting something in the house or in the business or, operating a business where you have multiple, options available for simulators and things like that. It's actually about really more customization, too. You can really be flexible, not just with the software and the programming that's available, but, they had down there at the show this year, they had one converted into what they called the man cave, and, they had, so there was all different, it was beyond just the technology, but it was actually almost building a lifestyle around it. It was kind of interesting, really, to see that. But so I want you to talk before we get into more into that, specifically a little bit about the indoor golf shop. So what does it do? What are some of the products that you guys have? I mean, obviously simulators is one. How you've integrated a lot of the top with the top companies out there. You package together through your simulators a lot of the technology like TrackMan, FlightScope, all of that sort of thing, and how you guys have really sort of expanded and diversified in the business just in the last couple of years alone. Talk about. I know it's a lot to swallow, but if you can kind of navigate us through the weeds a little bit to help us understand better just exactly what you guys are doing.
Yes, yes, I can, and I think the best way to do it is to kind of go back to the beginning of our business. And our owner, Rene Delgado, he started this company kind of on the side. He was involved in a different career, but he purchased a SkyTrack launch monitor, and this was 7-8 years ago, and found that he was trying to put a simulator package kind of together on his own, and he was really running into dead ends, and it was a frustrating kind of customer journey because it really didn't exist. Like, you could buy the launch monitor, but everything else was, you were kind of on your own, and you didn't know where to go to find it. So he saw an opportunity there to kind of build a company that could be that one-stop shop for golfers like himself that were, they were interested in the technology and trying to find something to put in their home. And so that's what got our business underway. And, the team started talking to other brands like SkyTrack and seeing if we could become a reseller. And, of course, we had our website, shopindoorgolf.com, was up and running at that time. So this was 2017 or so. And, the years kind of went by and more products were added to the mix. And, Renee and the team were ordering other parts from other vendors and components and kind of bringing it all together under one house where people could just shop and order from us. And then, of course, we all know what 2020 brought, and, right. the business just rapidly skyrocketed, and we couldn't fulfill orders fast enough. And so we were bringing in more and more of the brands like FlightScope and Foresight, and of course SkyTrack was part of it, Rapsodo, and so all the different launch monitor brands. I think we're upwards of 12 now, or 13 that we carry. True Golf as well, and we just kind of bundle and package these technology products, and along with the projector and a gaming PC or an iPad, and build all that package for our customers. And then we have of course the screen, the enclosure, the hitting studio, the mats, the turf, whatever it may be. And we just kind of bundle it all together and work with our customers to get what fits in their home or in their business. And, a lot of it is just stuff that we can package up and ship to their front door, and they can kind of assemble it and install it and put it together and work with our team to get them up and running in a short amount of time. And that's really the core piece of our business. Now, just in the past 3 years since I've been a part of it, we've really expanded in other areas. So now we're doing custom builds and installations all across North America. We're manufacturing different products for other companies that are kind of packaging and bundling their own simulators now. And we're a full-blown manufacturing company. So we make all the screens, we make the turf, we make the enclosures, and we just package it all together. So we're kind of we're still that one-stop shop, but we've obviously expanded as the industry's expanded.
Well, and it's great to because everybody's different. You've got a lot of partners, like as you mentioned, SkyTrack, TrackMan, FlightScope, and Rapsodo, and all the others. So there's a lot of diversity there to be able to, I don't want to use the word mix and match, but you have other options. It's not just sort of one option that you're putting out there. So it brings me to this question here. You mentioned about, you're now more into custom design and installation services that you're able to provide. So walk us through, and I mean, I don't mean necessarily from, pillar to post when I say this, but, obviously it can vary depending, on the installation and so forth. But walk us through the process. What does the consumer or business that's looking to have this a simulator installed, what do they have to provide? Obviously, they have to buy it, but what is needed on their end? How do you decide? Do you come in and visit to sort of take a lay of the land? How do they get the information that you need to be able to put something together for them to move forward with it? So kind of walk us through, if you wouldn't mind, from the moment that they sort of decide this is what I want to do, what's sort of the steps that take place from that point on?
Sure. It's definitely the first part of the conversation is about the space and what their space looks like, and if it's an existing room or if they're building something that's going to house a simulator. So it starts with the measurements of the space, and we have to make sure that, there's enough ceiling height, there's enough width in the room, there's enough depth in the room, and then we can now, so really, I mean, we can get those measurements from them. We can get them from their builder or whoever it might be. So we don't have to exactly be on location. We just need to start with the basics and get that space measurement. And we're then also talking about really the purpose of the simulator and what they really want to get out of it. And if it's for entertainment and having friends over for social time, then we know, okay, that now we're talking in this area. Or if it's more for training purposes, or somebody that's really dialed into their numbers and they're working on their game, and that gives us an idea of, okay, now he's looking or she's looking for this. And then it's another conversation if it's a commercial client and they're starting a business or they're adding something to their clubhouse or their school even, or university. So it runs the gamut of, like you said, I mean, so many other industries are involved in golf. So we talk to a lot of different clients about bringing golf simulators into their space. So it kind of starts with all of that, and then we take that and we have a team that are room designers, space designers, and they can lay out the simulator in that space and mock it up into a 3D model that the client can then view on their computer or laptop, and we can walk them around and really give them a visual feel of what this will now look like for them. We have a 3D render that, it looks almost like a real photo of the space, and that really now makes it almost realistic to them. So then now they're visualizing, what this could look like in their home. And then at the same time, now we're talking about the technology and what level of launch monitor or simulator software do they want, and really getting into the nitty-gritties of that. But, to be honest, this is not an impulse purchase, and it could take upwards of 3 months, 6 months for somebody to finally work through the process. And it doesn't, depending on the level of installation, some of our simulator installs can be as quick as a couple of days, or then some are, a couple of weeks. So,
right.
We can kind of get things put together, and they're hopefully a happy customer at the end of it.
Yeah, and that was actually going to be my next question, was typically, I mean, obviously it can vary depending on the level of the availability, obviously, of certain things, getting everything together, typically how long it took. And so it can be anything as short as maybe a couple of days to maybe a couple of weeks, if assuming everything falls into line at in the appropriate times and that, which is good. I mean, that gives them an idea. And obviously there's a lot of flexibility in what you want to do and customization. So as I mentioned, earlier, when I was at the show this year, I mean, they had a lot of, simulators there, and some were, sort of, I hate to use this term, but sort of a basic simulator and that, and then others that really, I mean, they built, a whole theme around it. and it was quite interesting. So I imagine you're seeing a lot of that now, especially in the residential area or even in a business area where they want to make it more, there's sofas there and there's an atmosphere that they want to create. So it's not just the screen and the monitor and the software that they're looking at. They're actually sort of building around to make it more of a, almost like a homey environment, a comfortable environment, a social aspect. So it's not just a simulator plunked in the middle of a room somewhere. So I imagine that's something that you guys obviously get pretty excited about, correct?
Yeah, you're exactly right, and really, those are really the fun ones where we can make it as natural a part of the home as possible. And we actually do work with home builders where they have a floor plan that their clients can pick from that has a simulator room as part of it. And it's built just as much as your bathroom's built or your basement's built. Well, there's my golf room, and those are some very, very lucky homeowners. But then, we also have the basic stand-up studios too that work just as well. And then, so many people are finding space in their garage now to kind of have these launch monitors and simulators in there too. So, yeah, it's really fun to, it's not a one-size-fits-all at all. So we are running through the variety of uses and variety of spaces for all of these.
How does this operate? And let's get into the software a little bit. And I'm not talking about I understand how a lot of these software items work, but just for the listeners out there that are maybe not as familiar with this yet, what's required? Let's say if you're installing in a home, forget the business for a minute. What's required on their end as far as the software? How is it accessed? Is it something through over an internet? Is it satellite driven? How does it function within that home? What's the point that sort of makes all of this work in their home? How does it function?
Yeah, it's really what we recommend is a pretty strong Wi-Fi signal, because a lot of the software that you're going to have, you're not really needing it to be hooked up to the internet 24/7. You can play simulated golf, just from a laptop or an iPad. You've got to have some type of computer to kind of run and operate that. But the importance of the Wi-Fi is to download, all types of updates to the software, or if you're downloading a new set of golf courses that have been released, you want to make sure you have a strong Wi-Fi signal. So really that's the biggest kind of need. Outside from that, it's no exceptional type of electric or power that you need to run these. It's really, you're operating the launch monitor, so you just need basic power for that. You're operating the projector, so you need a power source for that. And then your laptop or your computer system is running off of some type of power. So, the electrical requirements for the room need to be, at their best, but it's not anything outlandish or anything that's really an unnecessary upgrade. And then, that's really the key component technology pieces to it. And so that launch monitor, we have ceiling mounted units. We have ones that sit down on the floor by the golf ball, and then we have devices that sit kind of behind the golfer, and they're either like a photometric launch monitor or they're a radar Doppler launch monitor. And those devices are picking up that point of impact and that ball flight, and that's what's kind of being calculated and measured with all of the software and the hardware as part of those launch monitors. And that information is then fed over into your laptop, and it's kind of then, I guess the easiest way is it spits out, that ball flight onto the screen that you're watching. And that's where that software plays, and it complements what is what that launch monitor has done to capture that point of impact with the ball.
Let's talk just for a few moments, if you don't mind, from the teaching side of the game, because obviously more golf courses, teach professionals that have an indoor environment are gravitating to this technology for a number of reasons. Typically, when you went to a setup like this, even when they first came out with some of the software, you were basically hitting into a net. So the only visual was what was on their screen available to the professional. So you're now seeing with the onset of golf simulators, how do you think has it helped the golf teach professional that has decided to go this route, and obviously our facility has gone this route where they're offering that, as you mentioned in the Northeast, obviously because of weather conditions and that, you're seeing more and more of this happen. What's been some of the feedback that you've had from the golf professional side of things with what you're putting out there in the technology? How has it helped them?
I think there's a lot of different advantages and things that are really helping the teaching pros. And I think at first it starts with the technology and the advancements that have been made. I think we're in a really good place right now with these companies that are and the engineers and the developers that are really honing in on accuracy being the number one need from all of this technology. And so I think back in the day, I remember at Adams Golf when we were testing clubs and custom fitting customers back then, there were misreads. The accuracy wasn't that great, and you couldn't really trust the technology at that point. But we're at the point now where it is so close to 100%, and that's what you want from a teaching standpoint. You want data that you can trust. So that's one big aspect of it. I think also, like I was saying, all of this is becoming more and more mainstream, and people are talking and hearing about side spin and launch angle and smash factor and angle of attack.
Right.
All these metrics that are now part of the golf language and terminology that they weren't, a decade ago. So I think that helps from the teaching aspect, because golfers now believe those things and they understand them to a certain extent. So that teaching pro can talk to them about, okay, we need to work on this spin here on these clubs, and your swing, your descent, and all these other factors can help those numbers improve, and you're going to see a big difference. So I think a lot of that has really helped from a teaching standpoint. And then just, the availability of these systems, and you have so many teaching pros that can teach at night that couldn't teach before on a range if they didn't have lights. So they can go into a studio and work with their students at all times of day, and that convenience factor, I think, has been a real positive.
Yeah, and climate conditions too. I mean, obviously you've got if they have an indoor bay or what have you, and you've got some nasty weather out there, and you can get out of the rain and still continue on with your business. I want to add just something that you were saying, about the smash factor and the, spin rate and things like that. 10, 15 years ago, when you as a teacher professional, if you talk to your students about that, they didn't know what the heck you were talking about. But what's interesting about the simulators is now, well, it's true. I mean, I'm right. Is they had no idea, because the only one really that could see that information was the teacher professional, because it was, again, only available at that time. You would see it on a monitor or something. And, you could bring the student over. But now they can actually see it in real time as they're, making the strike. They're now seeing those numbers come up on a big screen. And, the instructor can now kind of go through that. And they're excited about it. There's a certain excitement because now they feel more involved. And they're starting to learn. I'm sure that when you deal on the residential side and you're getting people that are reaching out to you guys, they're a little bit more adapted to what all this stuff means compared to 10, 15 years ago. I think that's something that you're probably seeing a big change in as well, correct?
Yes, there's a big change there. And it was overwhelming and intimidating, to be honest, when you talk about those numbers, and it was very confusing and complex. But now there's a real understanding of what, and you don't have to take all of it. You can take just those 3 or 4 data points that you understand the best and really focus in on those, and you'll see some improvement in your game over time. But so that's a big change just with the general public understanding and being able to see those numbers. But in addition to that too is video playback. A lot of these systems have the capability to have that instant swing video, and whether it's a swing camera that's set up on a tripod that's kind of integrated into the software, or the launch monitor has a camera system in it, and it's replaying an instant replay of your swing coming through that ball, and you can see closed face, shut face, what the angle is. And that's a huge difference in what, our customers see from what they could see 10 years ago.
Yeah, no doubt. And, it's interesting because, again, there's so much that has changed, and it's never ending. I mean, every season, and I know it's happening faster than just a season. It's happening multiple times throughout the season. Grades, advancements. It's got to be overwhelming for you guys. It's certainly exciting on one hand, but it's got to be overwhelming because it's changing so fast. How do you keep up with it? Like, how do you, you must scratch your head sometimes when you come into work and think, God, I can't believe this. Just yesterday we were doing this. Now we can do this. And so it's got to be overwhelming a little bit for you guys. Would it not be? Or
it can be. Yeah, it definitely can be, because there are so many new innovations coming out and new advancements, and we try to keep up with it. And we, just today I received a box from TrackMan, and we're about to go put it up in our showroom. And we are fortunate to carry all the different brands, so we can kind of test them out in our showroom and have our team play with all the different systems and understand the differences. And we work with these different companies to kind of test and before they even launch to the public, we're kind of a proving ground. So we have an advantage to kind of see what's coming out and get a really deep look into the technology and what all is involved. But yeah, it's becoming where everybody is kind of chasing each other and trying to beat each other. And it can be pretty wild at times. But it is, like you said, it is a lot of fun to see what's coming next. And it's pretty wild what I think we're going to be seeing in the near future, just with what we've heard kind of on the street of who's working on what. It's pretty interesting.
Right. Yeah. I again, it's an ever-growing, ever-changing industry. So from, I guess, a consumer or business person's perspective, I mean, obviously they can go to your website, shopindoorgolf.com, and they can see, all of the variations there, and they can certainly the website to get more information there. But because I know you're out in Texas, do you have locations in other areas that if somebody was, let's say, in New Jersey and wanted to be able to kind of see what's going on, are there places that you can direct them to, or do you have other locations if they want to come and kind of have a demonstration? Or how does that work? If somebody's interested in what you have to offer, how do they sort of get their, feet wet, if you will, in testing these things out before they make a decision?
Yeah, and we get that question all the time, and we do have other locations. We have an office. Actually, we do have an office in New Jersey. We have an office in Toronto, and we have a showroom in South Florida, and we are putting a showroom very soon in the Chicago area. So we are that's kind of where we're headed next, is to kind of have locations around the country and around the North America for people to go and see product and kind of give a taste or a test of it and demo. And it's really important for people to feel and touch and see in person what they could be investing in. So we're making a move to do that more and more. And people can find those locations on our website at shopindoorgolf.com.
Perfect. And then also, obviously, for qualified applicants, you also offer financing as well. I mean, obviously, this is a big purchase. It's not something that you're, walking down with the $100 in cash. It's a much more robust purchase. Obviously, it's worth it. So there is financing available that you do offer for qualified applicants. It's really very interesting because I've surfed around on your website, and you have a lot of information there, the different types of simulators, the whole process that we've just touched on tonight, the various different partners that you're connected with, which we've also mentioned some of tonight, and I know there's others. So there's a lot of versatility, diversity, if you will, on putting this together. And so it's actually a little bit overwhelming, to be honest, because there is so many options that you really have to, do your homework. I mean, obviously it's a major purchase, so you have to do your homework. And it's great that you guys are able to, kind of sit down with them and help guide the process. And that's something that's really the first step, right, is deciding what it is, what needs they have, and then where do we go from here, right?
Yeah, Ted, it is that kind of learning process. And we understand that as a company, that people are coming into this a lot of the time just kind of overwhelmed, and where do I start and what should I even think about first? And that's where I think we have a real advantage in the marketplace. Our team, they're really skilled, they're really knowledgeable, and they're very open to having those conversations and answering all the questions and really developing that relationship with our clients and our customers to kind of hold their hands through the process, because we know it's confusing. And that's one of our big values as a company, is to be a caddy. We're there to guide these golfers down the course as they're investing and purchasing a golf simulator for the first time. And it's really rewarding, and it's really fun to see these kind of friendships develop between our customers and our sales team, whether it's through the phone or through chat or through email. Our people are always available to really help them. And a quick, just a little side note to that, just yesterday I was out, we had gone out a few hours from here to visit a couple of different country clubs, and we're at the end of the day, and one of the members of the club told us, and he found out we were in the simulator business, and he said, "Oh man, I'm so glad you guys are here. Do you mind coming over to my house? I'm on number 6 tee box. I've got so many issues with my simulator. I just don't know what to do. I've tried this, I've tried that." So, fortunately we were there, and he ran into a problem where we hear a lot, where he tried to contact that company and tried to get through to the technical support, and unfortunately they aren't set up to really handle a lot of those. So that's where we come into play, and our team is able to fix those systems and those issues that those people might have. And sure enough, 30 minutes later, we had him up and running, and you can guess that he was a pretty happy golfer to get his system back to playing how he wanted it to.
Oh.
So that's where that's what we hang our hat on. We're really proud of that, and we're here to serve and make it less confusing as it can be.
Well, that's a testament to your organization and the staff involved. That says a lot. I mean, it's great to have interesting and products and that sort of thing, but it all really boils down to the service as well. You can have a great product, but if you don't have the support team behind it, it doesn't mean much. So that's a testament to the group at Indoor Golf Shop. Jeff, it's very, very interesting. It's fascinating. Again, I'm certainly not familiar with everything, but I've seen a lot of this technology and familiar with many of the partners that you obviously are working with, and making this all happen for businesses and consumers. And you guys obviously are an industry leader. And I think for the listeners out there, if you want to get more information, go to shopindoorgolf.com as the website. Lots of information there. Take a look, do a little sifting, if you will, through their website, and then reach out and if you've got questions. And I think you're going to be very, very happy. But thank you very, very much for coming on Golf Talk Live tonight. I really appreciate you sharing some insight to your business, the Indoor Golf Shop, with my audience. I think you're going to have learned a lot for sure. I know I have. And very, very exciting. I'm interested to see what the future holds for this industry. It's fast-paced, it's exciting, there's a lot going on, and it's definitely doing a lot to change our industry, and I think for the better. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for sharing your time with my audience.
Well, thank you for letting me visit with you, Ted, and I enjoyed the time. And like you said, it's a lot of fun to talk about all of this because it is still relatively new, and there's a lot of quick advancements being made, and I think we can all just kind of see that the future is going to get very interesting, and there's a lot more to come. So we're just kind of scratching the surface, and we appreciate it. And, people can visit us at shopindoorgolf.com. We'd be very, very happy to help them kind of find their way and see if this is something right for their home or business.
Sounds good. And I know that there's lots of things coming down the pike with your business. I didn't ask you specifically what's new coming down because I know there's going to be so much, and it'll probably change by tomorrow anyway. So I'm going to have you back at a future date, and you can maybe share some exciting updates at that time. But again, Jeff, I appreciate you coming on and sharing and spending some time with my audience. And again, if you're listening to the program and you want to go and learn more about what we've been talking about tonight, go to shopindoorgolf.com is the website. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to you coming back on a future show.
Thank you, Ted.
All right. Have a great evening, great weekend. All right. That was Jeff Wood, the Vice President at the Indoor Golf Shop. Very interesting. I mean, I can't emphasize enough just some great simulators and a lot of different equipment. There's so much. I mean, to go through it all would take us more than the hour that we spent tonight. So, again, I think you need to visit the website, go to shopindoorgolf.com, and just click on. There's a ton of links on there to go, videos, all kinds of information, many links to really dig a little bit deeper into it. But definitely want to check it out for sure. And also want to thank the guys on the Coach's Corner panel. Excited to have the panel back, and I'm looking forward to more interesting Coach's Corner panel segments. So I hope you'll join me in the upcoming shows. Next week, as I mentioned, March 14th is going to be another Coach's Corner panel, and it will be the launch of a new golf travel segment that will be inserted in between the panel discussion and my special guest interview. So we're plugging that in there. My good friend Robert Kaufman will be joining me next week, as well as somebody from golfbreaks.com who's going to be sponsoring that particular segment this season. So you want to make sure you stay tuned for that. And we'll be featuring many great travel partners throughout the season. So you want to tune into that and find out maybe some great places that you haven't been to, or maybe want to go and visit. We're going to offer you some great opportunities through Golf Tips Magazine and also here on Golf Talk Live. So you want to tune in for that. That's going to be taking place, launching on March 14th on next week's show, and then also every fourth Thursday of the month. So the second and the fourth Thursday of every month, we'll be featuring a travel segment on the program as well. So stay tuned for that. On that note, special thanks to John Decker and Brian Dobby for joining me earlier on the Coach's Corner panel. And again, a very special thank you to Jeff Wood from the Indoor Golf Shop for being my special guest tonight. Take care, everybody. God bless. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.